Hello guys and maybe dolls, yeah, maybe some nice ladies out there interested in model railway, who knows. Be cool anyway. Right, nothing special about this vid, but I thought you might be interested in the story about this Triang Hornby really, Margate, made in Margate, class 58. This came off eBay a while ago now at a real good price. Would you believe £15? Well, a couple of pounds for shipping, so pretty cool. It was listed as a good runner, and to be fair to the seller, it did run okay, both forwards and backwards. But I did notice when she was under a little bit of load, it seemed like I could hear the motor. It seemed like the motor was going faster than the Loco was travelling with the load of coaches on the end. So I stopped it, and I had a look at the Loco. What I found was on the wheels, on the drive wheels, which here, as you obviously already know, you may know already that by trying to turn the drive wheels by hand, you can't do this because of the reverse gearing, because of the ratio of the reverse gearing on any motor, or any Loco. You can't turn the driving wheels and turn the motor. It will not happen because the ratio is too high. But I did find that when I tried this, I could actually pull the drive wheels round a little bit, and the same on this set here as well, which instantly told me some cogs were slipping somewhere. So yeah, we'd had to have a look inside, find out what was going off. Okay, we need to get inside the Loco now. So the normal practice is with a screwdriver, very carefully just prise the trailing end retaining spring clip, whoops, there we go, out, to remove the trailing bogie. And this is the ground, this is the negative part of the supply off the back bogie there. So we'll just remove that first, put that out of the way, and then we do the same thing again with the power bogie and gently ease it out again, and we can pull the negative wire through with it. We can put the body out of the way, and there we have the complete bogie with the motor and all the drive. Now, I've actually already done this some time ago when I first got the Loco, and what I found to be the problem, there was two problems involved here why it was actually slipping. The first one was that the the worm drive from the motor there turns this horizontal shaft here, which has got a brass toothed drive on it, which drives onto the two intermediate gears, which drives onto the second pair of intermediate gears, which then drive the wheels, which is fairly common in the Ringfield motor. The only thing is, on close examination, this brass gear here is actually worn really badly there, right on the edge. Now I'll try and show you this on the camera. We can just turn it round, you may just be able to see that the outer edge is actually quite badly worn. Maybe you just get a bit more light on it so you can hopefully see it. Now, what I did with this was obviously one of the problems, and surprisingly enough, you would expect to think that this first intermediate two gears would be the ones that were worn rather than the brass drive. But to be honest, I think these intermediate gears are made of like carbon fibre, and carbon fibre is actually stronger than brass, and it certainly has worn this brass away really bad. Now, to get over the problem, I stripped the motor completely anyway, stripped all the drives, stripped the motor off, everything came apart. And what I did to solve the problem was to simply remove this brass drive, the brass worm wheel, sorry, take it off altogether, and simply reverse it. So the worn side is here at the front, and of course the back end is perfectly okay because that's never been run on. And simply cleaned, replaced everything, oiled everything, put it all back, and she's actually fine. The only other problem that I couldn't do a lot about, there is a way of sorting it, but it's not practically that important, is the fact that this shaft, I'll try and get this so you can see it. Here is the shaft going through, which has got the helical worm drive driving it, and of course we've got the brass cog on that side. This is actually worn in the chassis itself. In other words, the shaft going through the chassis is actually quite worn, and I don't know whether you can see this, but if I get hold of the front and the back of that drive, you can maybe be able to see, I'm trying to keep my fingers out of the way, there is actually movement in it. It's actually moving there, so it's actually worn in the chassis or the shaft itself. Probably the shaft more likely rather than the chassis, because the shaft is going to be brass, the chassis is like cast. So, but having turned this round, having turned the worm drive, the gear wheel round, and then obviously these took up well tight into it, it actually worked fine, and it still to this day is working fine. However, I did stumble across, it wasn't urgent, but I happened to stumble across the fact that the complete chassis is available on eBay for £20, and we're talking brand new motor, fitted, complete new chassis, all new cogs, all new bearings. It's for 20 quid, you can't complain at that, and whilst I'm still going to keep this one as a spare because it actually is okay, I thought, well, I'll just put the new one in and, like I say, keep this one as a spare. So that's what we're going to do. It's quite simple really, but that's what we're going to do. We're now going to remove the complete motor and cast chassis section from the plastic bogie section. Now, what I normally do with these, there is 2 points that you have to be aware of on these. One of them is the back end here, which has got you can see it sticking through the plastic retainer there, but it's not that end you have to release, it's the front end up here. And the way I do that, and again, I don't know if there's a right and a wrong way for this, basically, I put my fingers on the wheels underneath, put the screwdriver down there, and just with a slight twist, just to ease it out and push the motor out like that. The full assembly comes out like that. So there we got the full assembly. Take that away from that's the plastic bogie section. So we'll put that out of the way, and now we've got the complete motor out, and along with the wheels and everything. So okay, now we'll have a look at the new section. Okay, I'm back, and here's the new section, the complete new chassis, motor complete. And yeah, I've already opened it, but obviously I'll just take out the peanut bubble wrap and take out the new section. We'll just put all this box and everything out of the way. Over there. And there we have the complete unit for 20 quid, which I really don't think is a lot of money. It's all brand new, and this is actually Chinese, and I have to say I have no problem with what's made in China, because the quality is fine. There's nothing wrong with the Chinese stuff at all. And according to the advert on eBay, again where it came from, they will fit the old Margate Loco, so hopefully this is what we're going to do. We notice we've got a couple of wires here, whereas on the old one, as you can see, we've only got just the one wire, which is here, which is the negative. No, actually, no, I tell a lie, I think that's the positive. Yeah, I think the positive is picked up off the back axle. The negative is here, screwed to the body, just there. So, yeah, okay, so we need the bottom part of the motor to be on the body, which is going to be the negative. No problem. So, looking back at the new unit, we've got 2 wires, and obviously one of these can go. Also, if you can see this, I'm sure you can see that we've got here we've got the capacitor, which is normal, which helps for the TV interference. But on the later Locos, we've got here what is called a little ferrite bead. This is a little inductor, which when it works with the capacitor and actually reduces TV interference even better. All modern stuff has the inductor on it now, as well as the capacitor. So looking at the way this is wired, it would appear to me that the bottom of the moto here is connected to the chassis there, which I'll meter that through in a minute just to confirm that with the test meter, and that the yellow wire which is soldered on here, which is the top one, which is that one, that is the one which I really need to take through to the trailing bogie, which is the positive pickup. So it's going to be okay, but we'll need to switch the iron on to do that. And okay, we're back in a minute. Well, I've just poured myself another whiskey, and whilst doing so I noticed that there's actually a slight difference between these two complete bogies. If we look at the original one there, you'll see that the negative of the motor is here, and it's literally screwed to the metal casting there, which means that the negative pickup is on this set of wheels here, which are running uninsulated, obviously, to pick up the negative from these wheels straight through the metal chassis, which is quite the norm, really. It's quite normal. But having looked at the other motor and noticing the fact that there's two wires on it rather than this one here, right, there is actually a difference between the two, and here's the difference. We can see here that the negative is here, the blue wire, which is this one here. It's going down here, and it's going to soldered there onto a strip which is not on the other motor, or not on the other bogie assembly. And the reason is that that strip is actually a copper strip which has actually got two copper spring pushing on that wheel there and this wheel here, not the center wheel. And now there's a very good reason for this. I know why this is different, because when the negative is connected to the body, the casting, the metal casting, it does create a small, but it's not that hard to get over, but a small problem for converting a Loco to DCC. Now, what they've done with this later Chinese bogie assembly is they've done away with grounding the negative of the motor to the actual metal chassis, and they've put it on this separate copper strip here, which picks up on the two wheels as previously just shown. And then what this gives us is a negative here, this blue wire, this negative, which if we were putting a DCC chip in, we would have the two wires with the negative of the motor completely isolated from the metal of the bogie itself, any of the metal work, which is fine. It's absolutely fine, and it's a much better way of doing it from the point of view of fitting a DCC chip. But we're not going to do that, so all I need to really do here, because the negative is still being picked up from these two, I think these are the left-hand wheels, if that's the correct way of expressing it. It's still the left-hand wheels on the other chassis, so I can simply afford to remove this blue wire completely and rely on the copper pickup giving us the negative to the motor, whereas on the other chassis it's relying on the metal body to give us the negative to the motor. But it's still the same, so we can afford to lose this yellow wire, this blue wire. Okay. Ordinarily, I would normally actually use the soldering iron to remove an unwanted wire, but in the case of this, we got both the wires are soldered, both the blue wires are soldered on. So I know if I unsolder them, they're both going to come off. So we're going to snip it off. So that's out of the way. Now the yellow wire, which previously on the other chassis is a brown, which is irrelevant anyway, is soldered here onto the positive of the motor, but now we need to be soldering it here so that the 12 volt and the current basically is pulled through this little ferrite bead as well. But again, it's nothing special, it's not a big issue. So carefully holding it, to get the iron, careful not to touch any plastic work, and hopefully we will just remove the yellow wire like so. Okay, so we'll just put that down a minute. And we go to the old chassis, And again, we just simply removed the yellow wire. Wouldn't have been long enough, so we simply removed the wire from that one and put it out the way. And this has obviously got the spade on, which is the positive pickup from the other bogie at the other end of the Loco. As with most old Locos, it's a bit chatty, to say the least. The wire's a bit chatty, but what I'll do with that is simply cut it off, cut the crap bit off, as we say, and I'm going to re-tin that. We'll get the solder, get some solder, and hopefully we'll just re-tin it and get a bit of life back to it, because it's very dry looking anyway. So get it all nice and fresh, nice and shiny. That's the way to do it. There you can see, hopefully when the camera focuses. Oh, come on, just there. Oh, come on, not going to focus, is it? No, it's trying. Anyway, it's shiny, take my word for it. Okay, and now we'll move the solder out of the way, and we get the new bogie, and we're simply going to solder this very carefully onto where the yellow wire came off. So I think I'll clean the iron and get some fresh solder. There we go. And we simply solder it back onto the capacitor, which like I say is also feeding through. There we go. Oops, bridged it. Oh, come on, get off. Hang on, we've got a problem here, because the solder's just bridged the cap and everything else as well, by the looks of it. Right, let's have a look through the spyglass. Okay. Right, the wire's come off. Okay, I'm going to have to redo this. Okay, I'll do it neat and I'll come back to you. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I'm back again now anyway. I find with a lot of electronic equipment, some of the soldering is dreadful, and this was not actually any exception. As soon as I touched it with the iron, the solder flowed everywhere, and it went everywhere where I didn't want it to go. So I've done the soldering my own way now, which is the way I prefer to do it, and hopefully you'll see I've stripped the wires, I've cut them and stripped the wires back, and I've redone the blue negative cable onto the cap and the ferrite bead, and I've also put the brown wire on, which is longer than the yellow one, and of course it's got the spade connector on the end anyway for the positive off the other bogie at the other end. So that's now done neatly, as you can probably see. Okay, I'm good with soldering anyway. Right, so what we need to do now is we need to put this back in the plastic bogie frame. It's not difficult to do this. This is quite simple. At the back end of the frame, which is here, it's got a slot which the chassis hooks into with that bit there, and the other end, which is that bit there, if you can see that bit there, that is the bit that clips into place. It's the back end that you have to physically put in, like so, like that. That's back in there, and then we get to the front, and keeping the pressure pushed backwards, we need to clip this back into the frame. So, oh, there we go, she's in. That clips back in at the front there. Now I have noticed on this new motor assembly that it's not actually, I can't really see any grease or oil, to be honest with you, so I'm not happy with that. So I think I'm going to oil this again my own way. So make sure we're clipped in right. Yeah, she's clipped in. Yeah, she's clipped in, no problem. So I'm going to get my oh yeah, look at this, look, original Triang. Ooh, let me get the angle right, put some light on it, look. The old original Triang bottle, look, which has got the cork and the oil dispenser. That's probably the right word. Yeah, the dispenser. So I'm just going to carefully put that down This is machine oil, by the way. I did forget to mention this when I did the XO4 motor. You must use a very light machine oil, and with that I'm going to oil the bearing of the motor down there, because this does look very dry to me, and I'm going to oil the back end of the bearing down there, and I'm also going to put some down the brass shaft, down behind that brass drive there, so it goes on the shaft. And again some down there, which is the other end of the same shaft, and at the same time I'm going to put some down behind these screws on the first intermediate gears, which is there, and then I'm going to put some on the second intermediate gears, which is there and there. And I shall put some more actually on the gear itself, on that one, and in between those two, which means it'll do both these two intermediate gears and the main drive gear as well. And then the same again, carefully in between those two there, like that, and that, give it some oil basically. So now we need to, I think we need to run this one up actually before we put it back in the Loco. So out comes the controller. Okay, I've got the controller wired up, and pretty simple really. Back with the crocodile clips again. I've got one on the ground, on the negative leg there, and of course the positive leg is clipped to the brown wire. And what I'm going to do, I think it's a good idea to put a spot of oil on the main worm drive as well, because this all looks so very dry to me. So we'll put some oil on the worm drive there, and then yeah, we're going to run her. We're going to fire her up, and oh yes, okay, just nice and slow. Got to let the oil penetrate, let it get through. So yeah, cool, wicked, nice one. And of course, yeah, plenty of power there, but I'm only on slow. I'm on number 1 anyway, so yeah, we'll speed her up. Now we've got the oil through. There she goes, and that's flat out now, one way. Oh, bloody hell, yeah, loads of power. Oh, I can't even stop her with the wheel. So yeah, cool. And then of course backwards or forwards, whichever way, we don't know which it is at the moment. There she's right up there, full whack, and again loads of power. Loads of power. A lot of gear in here actually, because you've got the ratio between the worm drive off the motor to the horizontal drive, and then you've got another ratio from there to the first intermediate wheels. Now the ratio between the intermediate wheel and the second intermediate wheel is exactly the same, so there's no power gain with that, but there is a difference in ratio between the second one and the drive wheels. So again, we gain a little bit more power by reducing the ratio. And yeah, there we go, the new Bogie in place, all wired up and oiled, cleaned, well not clean but checked, I think is the right term here. Yeah, and she's running fine. And of course we've got new rubber tyres on the wheels because it's all new anyway. So next step then, put it back in the Loco. Here we go. Back once more, and simply all we need to do now is replace everything back into the Loco body shell, which is really simple. So we'll get the power unit, and we simply get the body shell and thread through the positive supply like that, and simply put the front hook into place and just simply press home. So that's that one. So we've now got the positive supply here, which as we know goes into the rear bogie. So that can plug in there like that onto the bogie, and we simply then again hook the front into place and carefully make sure that the wire is up out the way, and then we simply again just push the clip into place, and there she is, all done. Replacement motor, replacement bogie, complete replacement actually. And I'm sure this is going to be as good as new. As I said to you at the beginning, the old chassis is actually fine, and even though there is wear in this transverse drive here, with turning the drive wheel round, it took up enough slack that there was no slipping. It's a good spare. I mean, the motor's fine, it's a good spare, but like I thought, for 20 quid we changed the whole lot, you know, all in. It's got to be worth it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. It's not a particular special video, but maybe of some help and some use to some of you out there. So thanks for looking. Cheers guys, bye.